aliens disclosure. UFO 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 aliens disclosure. Let's go.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into the world of UFOs today. Whistleblowers, government transparency, all that good stuff.
Congressional testimonies, official reports. We'll even touch on the psychology of UFO sightings.
It seems like everywhere you turn these days, it's UFOs this and UAPs that, right? I mean, or as the government likes to call them, UAPs. All this buzz makes it tough to even know where to start.
Totally. I mean, on one hand, you've got folks claiming they've got this inside scoop, on these like secret government programs and alien tech they've recovered and everything. But then you've got those official reports, right, saying there's zero evidence, nothing, nada on extraterrestrial activity. Makes you wonder what's really going on.
It really does. So how do we even begin to sort through all this, all these conflicting stories and reports and everything? That's exactly what we're going to try to do today together.
I think the best place to begin, honestly, is with those whistleblowers. I mean, their stories are just fascinating, right? And they really make you question what's actually going on behind closed doors. Okay, so let's get into that then. Why are these whistleblower accounts so captivating? And how do we assess how valid their claims are, especially when we're talking about something as wild as UFOs?
Well, think about it. These people are risking a lot, right? I mean, they're putting their careers on the line, their reputations, even sometimes their own safety, just to bring this information forward. They really believe that the public has a right to know, even if that means, they got to go up against these powerful institutions.
Yeah, no, it's high stakes for sure. And one of the biggest names in all this right now in the UFO whistleblower world is David Grusch, right? A former intelligence officer who claims he uncovered these classified programs dealing with recovered, non-human craft.
In his testimony, that was huge because he testified under oath in front of Congress. I mean, that adds a whole other level of seriousness to his claims.
It's not just some story he's telling, he's putting his credibility on the line. But the thing is, Grusch hasn't provided any physical proof to back up what he's saying.
Yeah, that's a major point. Without some kind of hard evidence, it really becomes a question of weighing the risks and motivations. Why would someone put themselves out there like that, make themselves so vulnerable, if they weren't absolutely sure what they were saying?
It does make you wonder what their angle is, right?
Yeah.
Are they just trying to tell the truth, or could there be something else going on?
Definitely something to think about.
Right.
Are there any personal beliefs that could be, influencing what they see? Could there be some misinformation mixed in there? It's crucial to look at it from all sides.
Absolutely. And Grusch isn't the only one making these kind of claims. Luis Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP, he's been pretty vocal too.
Right. ATIP, a whole government-funded program dedicated to investigating UFOs.
Yeah.
And Elizondo has come out saying he saw UAP data that couldn't be explained. It just didn't fit with anything we know.
So you've got these two individuals, both with impressive backgrounds, both claiming some pretty extraordinary things.
And what's interesting is that despite coming from these totally different fields, both Grusch and Elizondo keep bringing up these same themes. One of the biggest ones being compartmentalization.
Meaning?
It's the idea that research on UAPs is super classified, buried deep within these secret programs that almost no one has access to.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Why would the government go to such lengths to keep all this under wraps? What's the point of all this secrecy?
Well, there are a few theories, right? Some say it's national security, keeping our advanced tech out of the wrong hands. Others say it's about avoiding mass panic, or maybe even controlling what people think about UFOs, like controlling the whole narrative.
So we've got national security concerns, worries about how the public would react, maybe even a little bit of conspiracy theory thrown in there for good measure.
Exactly. And no matter the reason behind it, this compartmentalization makes it really hard to verify what these whistleblowers are claiming. It's their word against a wall of secrecy.
And it's not just the secrecy, it's also the claims about these advanced technologies, recovered materials, stuff that just seems to defy everything we know about science.
Like Grusch, talking about these non-human crafts that can do things we can only dream of. It's fascinating. But without any tangible proof, it's still speculation.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, but we gotta stay grounded, right? Be critical thinkers. So I gotta ask, what would it take to convince you What kind of evidence would make you a believer?
That's the question, isn't it? We can't just take these whistleblower accounts at face value, no matter how captivating they are. We need to think about potential biases, the lack of actual proof, the whole context of their claims.
You're right. But the government can't just ignore all this interest in UFOs, can they?
I don't think so. Not when you have former intelligence officers testifying under oath about alien technology. That's not something you can just sweep under the rug.
Exactly. It puts them in a tough spot. Do they keep things secret and risk looking like they're hiding something? Or do they become more transparent and potentially cause a lot of public anxiety, even more questions than before?
Yeah, they're walking a tightrope. And that brings us to the 2024 UAP Disclosure Act, a new law that says they have to release all this classified UAP information. That's a big deal, but we got to think about what it really means.
Is it a genuine move towards transparency? Or just a way to quiet everyone down without actually revealing anything really important?
That's the million-dollar question, right? A true effort to open up, or just a well-placed smokescreen?
I guess only time will tell. But we do have that recent report from ARO to consider. Remember, that's the office set up partly because of Elizondo's work, and they've been looking into UAP sightings for a while now.
And their big conclusion: no proof of alien tech.
I bet that was a letdown for anyone hoping for confirmation of little green men, huh?
I can imagine. But it's important to understand, the report doesn't completely debunk everything.
Yeah.
ARO suggests most sightings can be explained away as like classified tech we don't know about, natural events, or even just people misinterpreting what they saw.
So it's like they're saying, we haven't found aliens, but we're still on the lookout.
Exactly. And they really stress that the investigation needs to continue if we want to understand these events that we just can't explain.
Okay, let's do a quick recap. We've got whistleblowers with these really interesting stories claiming insider knowledge. We've got a government figuring out how to be more transparent, and this whole office dedicated to investigating UAPs. But we still don't have any solid proof of extraterrestrial life.
A puzzle with tons of missing pieces, right? It's easy to get lost in all the speculation. But there's another piece to this whole puzzle we got to consider. Us, humans.
Ah, the human factor. How do our perceptions, our beliefs, even our personalities play a role in what we see, especially with something as extraordinary as UFOs?
Right. And that brings us to this really cool study about the personality traits of people who report seeing UFOs. Get ready for this, it's going to get interesting.
Okay, so we've got whistleblowers, government stuff, official reports, but now we're bringing in psychology. That's a whole new layer to this whole UFO thing.
Right. I mean, it adds this whole other dimension. This study, it was published just this year in the Journal of Scientific Exploration. They were looking at, personality traits, and if those have anything to do with people seeing UFOs.
What'd they find?
Well, they found that folks who say they've seen UFOs, they tend to score higher on certain personality traits. Specifically, they're often more open to new experiences, and they're generally more agreeable.
Wait, hold on. We're not saying that just because someone's open to new experiences, anything they see in the sky is automatically UFO,
No,
right?
of course not. No. But this research, it really makes you think about what we see, how we understand the world, especially when it comes to something as strange as UFOs. It's tied to who we are,
Yeah.
our perceptions, our beliefs.
Like, I want to believe, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Our brains, they're always trying to make sense of the world, filtering information. It's totally natural that our beliefs, our personalities, they'd all play a role in how we understand these unusual events that we can't explain.
So someone who's naturally more open to new experiences, more willing to believe in possibilities, maybe they'd be more likely to see something strange and think, hey, that's a UFO.
It's possible, right? I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. People who are open to experience, they're usually curious, they've got good imaginations, and they're willing to consider stuff that's outside the box. So yeah, maybe they'd be more likely to think about extraterrestrial life, to interpret something they see through that lens.
And what about being agreeable? How does that tie in?
Well, agreeable people, they're often more trusting, right? More compassionate, empathetic. They might be more likely to believe what someone else tells them. If someone says they saw a UFO, they might take that more seriously than someone who's not as agreeable.
So it's not just about what's happening out there in the sky. It's about what's going on in here, in our minds, how we see the world, our personalities. It all feeds into how we experience reality. And that includes, whether or not we think we've seen a UFO.
Absolutely. This study, it's a good reminder that the human side of this whole UFO discussion is really important. It's not all about radar data and reports from the government. It's about how our perceptions, our beliefs, even the way we think, all that, it shapes how we interact with well, with reality itself.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much of what we believe is influenced by our own perspective?
It's like a fundamental part of being human, right? We all see the world through these unique lenses that are shaped by what we've experienced, what we believe, who we are, and with something as mysterious, as debated as UFOs, those personal factors, they play a huge role.
So where does that leave us? We've talked about whistleblowers, the government's response, and now psychology's in the mix. But the big question still hangs out there. Are we alone in the universe?
That, my friend, that is the ultimate mystery, right? It's a question that humans have been asking for, well, forever. It's what drives us to explore space. It's what feeds our imagination.
It speaks to some deep part of us, our curiosity about our place in the universe, about whether or not there's other life out there.
And even though we might not have the answers, that search for knowledge, that journey, it's filled with this sense of wonder, of possibility.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, our listeners, with a thought-provoking question. What would convince you that extraterrestrial life is real?
What would it take to shift your perspective? Would it be a crystal clear photo of a spaceship, a message from a faraway star, or maybe even coming face to face with an alien?
These are big questions, right? They make us think about what we're willing to believe, what kind of proof we'd need to be absolutely convinced.
It's a challenge to think critically, to look at the information we have, and to be open to the idea that what we think we know about the universe, well, maybe it's not the whole story.
Because out there, in the vastness of space, who knows what's possible?
Until next time, keep your minds open, keep asking questions, and we'll see you on our next deep dive into the unknown.
Wow, we've covered so much ground today, haven't we?
We really have, from those whistleblowers sharing their stories to government reports, and then even like the psychology behind UFO sightings. It's been quite a ride.
We've talked about government secrecy, that lack of hard evidence, and even how our own perceptions, like who we are as people, can shape what we believe about aliens and all that.
And through all of it, I think what we really need to remember is to think critically.
Yeah, 100%. Approaching this whole thing with an open mind, sure, but not just believing everything you hear. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to question things, right? Look at the evidence. Consider different viewpoints. Even if those viewpoints, totally challenge what you thought you knew.
It's not about just blindly accepting whatever someone tells you. It's about having these discussions, thinking things through, being informed.
It's what we've tried to do today, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've shared all these different sources with you, some more reliable than others, and we hope we've encouraged you to think for yourself.
To weigh the evidence, to consider why people might be saying the things they're saying, and ultimately to come to your own conclusions.
Because at the end of the day, this whole question of are we alone in the universe, it's personal.
There's no one right answer, just different ways of looking at it based on what we know, what we think we know.
So what now? Where do we go from here?
Well, the search for answers keeps going.
There's always new information coming out, and what we understand about UFOs, about UAPs, it's constantly changing.
We got to stay curious, right?
Yeah.
Stay informed and keep talking about it.
And who knows? Maybe one day we'll have absolute proof, one way or the other.
Until then, the mystery's still there. And the possibilities, they're endless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into UFOs, whistleblowers, and government transparency. It's been fun.
Keep those minds open, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive. Who knows what we'll uncover then?
UFO alien disclosure. UFO alien disclosure. UFO alien disclosure. UFO alien disclosure. Let's go.